Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Relatable Radio Hour with Dr. Green. Thank you so very much for joining. Tonight, we have another great topic that I'm hoping to get another great conversation and discussion with. And I couldn't think of anybody else. I know I say that every week, but I really do mean it. I couldn't think of anybody else to bring into this than a guy that I've known for several years as we talk about the art of pivoting. And I know a lot of times we have to be able to pivot because the things that we want to do, the things that we want to establish for ourselves, something happens and we have to go to a plan B, plan C, sometimes plan D, in order for us to, feel as though we are using our purposes and using our God-given gifts and talents. And as I said, I couldn't think of anybody else more appropriate to bring into this conversation than a good friend of mine, Mr. Johnny Flemming, who is a consultant, real estate investor, and a lot of other things. IT guru, just everything. So, Johnny Flemming, thank you so very much for joining us today, brother.
Thank you, Dr. Green, for having me. And that was such a very warm welcome. It's always so funny to call you Dr. Green because I've known you for so long. But I'll keep with formality. So thank you very much for having
Just
me.
just keep the formality, man. This is a show. I'm trying to be professional here. You can't, go all off task and everything. But no,
Absolutely.
you're absolutely right. I mean, when you know somebody so long, it's hard to kind of be like, wait, what? I have to do what? I have to call you what? But it's
Right.
totally fine. You're not the first person that's been on the show and said the same thing, Johnny. So I also want to say that he's also a dear fraternity brother of mine. I think you'll see a consistency of bringing in good alpha brothers onto this space because I feel like we have so many great brothers that are doing some great things. So I just wanted to highlight that as well. Well, as
That's
I
right.
said, I've known you for quite some time. I think we connected in second grade. So we're looking at, over 30 years at this point.
Yeah, over
So I've
30
known you for
years.
quite some time. Tell the people who you are. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you come from. Just let us know who Johnny Fleming is.
Sure. I was born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi, by a single mother of three, hardworking mother, might I add. I've been in IT for roughly about 17 years or so. I graduated from Jackson State University, the Jackson State, the I love, in 2004. Um, and I'm a family man, man of God, and that's pretty much about it.
Well, you're being modest, which is, not really, I'm not really surprised,
Well,
but
we're gonna get into the real estate side of it, so I want to keep it interesting for the viewers for sure.
okay. Well, that's good, and I appreciate you doing that. But as it relates to just getting into that space of IT, which is where you said that you've primarily, wanted to be in, what was it about it that really thrusted you into that? Because of course, me knowing you for such a long time, you had so many areas that you could have focused on, but what was it about IT that really drew you in?
So, man, let me tell you, ever since I was a little kid, I was always interested in like how things worked. I was always taking apart, toy trains, remote control cars, like anything I could take apart and try to put back together. That's what I did for like the better part of my adolescent years. So it was just a natural progression to go into the IT field. Now, the IT field is a very vast field, so I didn't really know which way I wanted to go, whether it be industrial engineering, computer science, things of that nature. So I just kind of picked a focus that was kind of stuck in like the service field. So I did industrial technology in college with a concentration in computers, and it just kind of grew from there.
Absolutely. So, you get into the field. Well, actually, you started in a different career altogether before you got into that. I remember you had started being a car salesman, and I know at that point in your life, that was where you were kind of getting your feet wet into a lot of things. But talk about that transition from going to that space to really doing something that you really wanted to do.
So that's a very interesting story. So at the time, I was about to get married. That was about 2004, and I was living in Jackson. And my wife at the time, my late wife, she had to. She was an intern here at FedEx. So I was like, I I got to get a job. Like I can't just go up there,
Yeah.
get married, and not have a job. So I was like, what can I do very quickly that's gonna give me some income? So my first thought was car sales. I never done it. I knew I liked to talk to people. I knew I had the gift of gab. So basically, I was like, hey, let me take this car sales job. You know, they posted it at the time. I think yeah, it was online. We're not that old. They posted online. I applied for it. They sent me up to training. I went through the training. And from there, I got married, and that was in 2005. About 2006, I was like, okay, I got to do something different. I had my degree, so I got to get into my field. So what I did, I went and got some extra like educational studies in. I went to this computer technology center called, at the time it was called New Horizons Learning Center, and it was a center where they offered you all these different certifications and just kind of opened my world up to a whole new understanding of IT.
Mhm.
So I just kind of took a deep dive in that, and I connected with a recruiter here in Memphis, and they put me on with the IT gig here at my most current job, and I have been there for 18 years.
Wow.
So I've been in the IT field for 18 years now.
Wow. And so there's definitely something about it that keeps you engaged in the field. What would you say that is? What is it about it that keeps you just consistently engaged in the IT world?
IT is forever evolving, like
Mm,
always. If
yeah.
you just going from a funny story, just going from where IT was back in the early 90s all the way up to now, as you know, it's a huge difference.
That's
You and
true.
I are joking the other day. I still have my original AOL email account from
You brought it up.
from
Okay.
yeah.
There we go.
I told you I would.
Yeah, that was
I
good.
still
That
have
was
my
good.
original AOL account, believe it or not. And just going from seeing the difference, even from that,
Mm.
now, AOL's a thing of the past. Now we're on Gmail now, but Gmail is gonna be a thing of the past at some point. So just seeing the different transition from old to new, and just keeping it in that lane of
Hmm.
different things. So
Yeah, and I mean, I'm thinking back to those AOL days. That's when, you would kind of use those free trials that they would give you. They would send those little DVDs or
yeah,
CDs, and you
yeah,
would, get like a month or so for free. And then, you had to use the dial-up modem. You couldn't just use
yeah.
what we have now. Technology has changed quite a lot since then. So I definitely get the fascination of just like wanting to continually, be connected to it and see where it goes.
Yep.
You've already mentioned it. I don't know if you've even kind of noticed it, which is why I think you're such a great person to speak about this. But you pivoted pretty early in your career, coming from the car salesman role, going straight into IT, doing what's necessary, and doing that. What did you find to be really beneficial for you as you made your very first pivot of many other pivots that we're going to talk about? But what did you think really helped solidify your ability to pivot from doing that one thing and going into IT?
Understanding business perspectives.
Mm,
It's not just about knowing what your career path is. It's also about knowing the other parameters that support your career path, like the politics of business. What's going on? How is your business surviving? How are employee relations? Things of that nature. So we're talking about pivoting. So in 2021, my department, they decided that they wanted to move my entire department out to California. And we had two options: either move or be laid off. So I was provided with a unique opportunity to have a work from home job, um, but it wasn't in IT. So here's the thing. about 2019, I had a conversation with my manager and I said, "Hey, I love doing IT, but I want to understand the business side a little bit more than just having my hands in IT." So he kind of took me under his wing and he nurtured that business side for it. So fast forward to 2021, there became an opportunity for me to become a program manager, and I was able to pivot from the IT industry into the corporate industry. So the last few years have been a really amazing journey because of the simple fact that prior to 2019, I didn't have any of that business acumen uh, for corporate per se,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew how the business worked. And I think that's what was most valuable and most important for me to be able to pivot into this new role.
Absolutely. So, what type of skills did you develop in the process of pivoting into that? Because that seems to be, well, of course, program management is a huge thing now, but it has so
Mhm.
many, bells and whistles to it. Like, what types of skills have you garnered from just kind of going into that altogether? Because aside from just the business side that you got some mentoring, with, seems like it's
Mhm.
another whole scale of things that you could have learned in the process too.
So let's go back to the sales deal where I mentioned that I had the gift of gab, right?
Yeah.
So being a program manager, especially it was to be able to have a conversation with someone, understand the needs of the customer, and to be able to put those different moving parts together for a common cause. So just knowing how to talk to people
Mm.
was very helpful, and prioritizing. Prioritizing was something that I learned along the way, especially in IT. You have to be able to prioritize, but especially coming into a corporate field, prioritizing was very important. So, just learning those different, nuances to the business side was very helpful.
Communication is so key in so many different ways. And if you're able
Mhm.
to execute the art of communication, it definitely goes a long, 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 long
Right.
way. So just being able to be in that alone and to pivot and to know the skills and acknowledge the skills that you develop and transferring those skills over to other entities, it seems like it's really made a huge impact on you just in general. So during this journey, I mean, I know we all kind of face the disappointments or the failures, but what are some of the things that pivoting to the different entities that you've spoken of have also brought upon some disappointments or some failures that, you've had to deal with or just kind of make amends with?
So I look at failures a little different than most people. I look at failures as opportunity to learn something new. I tend to kind of spin it a little bit. Challenges are everywhere, right? Failure is everywhere, but you kind of pick and choose how you deal with those failures. And I tend to learn from mine. I feel like if you learn from it and spin it to where it could be a good thing, it's not really a failure, you know?
Of course.
So some of some of those things that I've been able to do, pivot, if you will, just making sure that another door is opening where this one is closing. So um, I've managed to. So in 2016, I'll take you back. In 2016, I told myself that at some point you're going to need to establish something for yourself so that if this opportunity closes, you'll have this opportunity over here. And that is how my real estate venture kind of got birthed. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. But as far as failures are concerned, it's just a learning opportunity for me. I just take it as a learning opportunity.
Hmm. And the learning opportunities that you speak of, what are some things that you learned from those, and how have you been able to, apply them in other areas?
How to overcome adversity.
Mm.
How to overcome adversity. Because there are always going to be challenges. Choose your bad, you know, um, and I say that with a grain of salt. So I came across something that I read, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it said choose your bad. If you're, it's hard to be overweight, but it's also hard to work out, right, and be fit. So choose your bad. It's hard to be broke, but it's also hard to work hard and get what you want. So choose your bad. So I've just kind of gotten to this mode of choosing my bad the correct way.
Hmm. I would love for you to kind of speak on that a little bit more. Like give us some good examples of how you managed to do that.
Um, One good example would be um, in 2016, I was trying to understand how can I do real estate while being a full-time employee and being a full-time husband and parent. How can I do that? So I was like, well, you can stay stagnant, stay exactly where you are, and live with the fear of your company being able to, uh, you know, get rid of your position at any moment, or you can figure out an opportunity for you to start your business and grow your business over time. So I chose the route to take the risk, to start my business, and it's grown since then. And I
Mhm.
feel like that was ultimately the decision that has saved my life. So
Mhm.
that's how I chose my bad.
And with you just kind of explaining how you chose your bad in that situation, it made me think of something instantly because I think it goes hand in hand when you talk about this particular topic. What were some of the signs that you saw that led you to say, "Hey, I need to figure out how I'm going to do this," but not only how to do this, but you were needing to pivot to try something new. What were some of the signs that came off to you to say, "I need to try something different at this point in my life"?
So by 2016, with my company, I had survived two rifts. All right. So if no one knows what a rift is, it's a reduction in force. And that basically is if your company isn't performing well, they're going to do layoffs, which we all know, layoffs. So I said to myself, you know what? If that happens, I need to be in a position that I can still survive. My family still survives. So at that point, I made the decision to start my real estate investment venture. And I started out by, I had no clue what I wanted to do in real estate because real estate is such a broad area. Um, and I always tell this story. My uncle, he owned a construction company. And I went to him and I had a conversation. I was like, I want to do something. I just don't know what it is. Right. I just made it through my second riff and I don't want to get caught in a third. So, he was telling me, well, he called me Johnny. Well, Johnny, why don't you, I know that's
That's your
my
name. I
name,
was
right? But
kind of like, okay,
my,
that's your name.
all my other family members have a nickname
Okay,
for me. He's the only one that actually calls me by my
that
real
makes
name.
more
So that's
sense.
why I
Okay,
said
thank you for explaining it too,
that.
because I was confused.
Yeah. So he told me, he said, there's so many different areas you can go down. You don't have to be a real estate agent. You don't have to work in construction like me. He said the sky's the limit. Just choose which one you want to do and focus on that. So that took me to a deep dive and to see, how can I do this? How can I mitigate my risk? And how can I do this long term while working a full-time job? And the best option that suited me was to buy, rehab, and rent. Right. So that's pretty much what I did. And I bought my first property. Well, I started my LLC in 2016, bought my first property in 2017. And my business has grown exponentially since then.
The risk that you had to um, see the need to try something different for yourself and to take that leap of faith really paid
Hmm.
off in the end. And so that's where we are now. I mean, you've mentioned the real estate. So now let's get into that because as you said, you were multitasking, going being in the IT world and then going into this new world of real estate. that you didn't really know a whole lot about, but you managed to get into it. So, how can you explain those first months, maybe first few years, being in IT, still working full time, and also going into this real estate venture?
Um, that was one of the challenges, because like I said, I was still family man. I'm a very hands-on parent. I was chauffeuring my daughter to ballet, almost 3, 4 times a week. You know, working full-time gig, all while trying to jumpstart a business from the ground up. So that had its many challenges. With that, it just comes to a mindset of knowing that, hey, they could shut this door on you at any moment. And that kind of kept me going. And I think it's really important for people to, understand that, hey, your job may not always be there. So get it in your mind now. Let's turn the light bulb on and say, what can I do to better myself? What can I do to better my family? And that was just the mindset that I took on in order to, jumpstart my business, like I said.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's important to keep that frame of mind as you kind of move forward into it. So you spoke a little bit about the challenges that the real estate, entity can bring. Um, but looking back, what other challenges? Well, I guess not looking back. I guess presently looking, because I mean you're still involved in it. What are some of the challenges that you think have occurred that have really been just like, man, that was really difficult, but I'm glad I learned from it.
Funny you should mention. So I just recently, well, not recently, it's probably been over a year ago now. But I bought an apartment complex in Starkville, Mississippi, and the budget was severely exploded because of the simple fact that around that time it was like post COVID,
Mm,
and the original budgeted amount literally, like, all of the prices of products, materials just shot up like twice the amount that they originally were.
wow.
So, being able to overcome that, different financial strategies, trying to understand, how to get the best materials at the cheapest possible cost, how to get the best contractors at the cheapest possible cost, and being able to use my gift of gab to be able to talk people down from different amounts of quotes and things of that nature. Um, and now that the project is done, you kind of just want to throw your hands up and say, I don't know how I made it through that, but God,
Hmm.
that's the only thing that
Hmm.
I can say.
Hmm.
Because there were definitely some moments where, me and my business partner, we were like, man, how are we gonna do this? But yeah, man, just again, just relationships, communication, knowing how to talk to people, just being really kind of nifty with contracts and things of that nature. So that definitely got me through.
Well, I can definitely say that that's an eye-opening experience whenever you're dealing with money and trying to budget something the way that you think it should be budgeted, and then something else completely else comes
Yeah,
about. I mean, that calls for a lot of
it
improvisation
was
at that point.
completely out of our hands. Like the
Yeah.
economy just like went kaboom, for
Yeah,
lack of a better term.
those were some crazy times when everything was just
Mhm.
kind of escalated with the prices. So, at this point, you're, still heavily involved in IT, but yet you're still managing these huge projects like the apartment complex that you've spoken about. Um, what were some things that came up during that time in your life where it seemed as though, oh, okay, I've seen this before. I know how to handle this. And
Mhm.
if you have something specific to kind of speak to, kind of give us an example of what that looked like, and how did you handle those things?
Sure. Dealing with contractors,
Mm,
um, budgeting, making sure that they're on task, time management, having spreadsheets of, what are the materials that I have versus, what I pay for. Because, sometimes you rely on contractors to go and buy the materials. And if you don't watch it, some of these contracts will buy some things for themselves that wasn't necessarily on the material list. So, that's the program management side of it that I was able to take from my day job and use on, this particular project. Um, and, 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 and at times it was challenging. You're constantly asking contractors for receipts. You're making sure your property manager is, or well, at the time, yeah, the property manager, she was kind of acting as a liaison between myself and the contractors, because I wasn't on site. So just making sure she was on target with the contractors, and just making sure that everybody was working as a cohesive unit. And that's exactly what I was doing on my day job. You're basically the liaison between so many different departments, and you all are working for a common good. And I was able to transfer my day job knowledge onto my business. So that in itself, I thought was pretty cool how I could correlate the two.
The transferable skills, they never seem to lose their power because the
Hmm.
moment we think that we're just doing something for one thing, it's actually preparing us
Right.
for several other things that we haven't even encountered
Right.
just yet. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did, even going way back to being a car salesman, having that
Yeah.
gift of gab and being able to, talk to people and communicate and,
Hmm.
that all of it all works together.
Right.
So it sounds like your
Yep.
journey was specifically aligned for all of these things that you had started to experience. So now you're at a place where you're still involved in IT. You've been doing some consulting. I feel like the project management has just been a huge asset to you, coupled with the real estate investing, things of that nature. What are some of the most enjoyable experiences that you can take away if you can think to the real estate side or project management or IT, anything that you've experienced? What are some of the most enjoyable experiences that you've had?
Dr. Green, that is a perfect question, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it is that comes to mind. So, as of February 23rd of this year, I there was an additional rift that I did not make it through this time. So, I was indeed laid off
Mm.
as of February 23rd, 2024. And they did not realize they were actually doing me a favor.
Mm.
So the cool thing about it was being able to have that conversation with my children and show them the importance of having your own, so that if that door closed, you know that you're good over here. That was like, that meant the world to me to be able to
Hmm.
show, because I always preach to them, hey guys, it's okay
Mm.
to work for somebody else.
Right.
That's fine. It's okay to want that structure. But in the meantime, in the background, make sure that you're doing something. So if this company says, hey, you gotta go, we
Hmm.
can't afford to pay you anymore,
Hmm.
then you know that you're still okay. So that was such a Bill Cosby teachable moment
Mm.
that I was able to show my kids. I was really excited when I told them. Most people probably devastated, and
Right.
understandably so.
Yeah.
I was really excited to tell them, hey guys, I lost my job today because of a reduction in force. But guess what? We're not going to miss a beat, because dad, back in 2016, knew that there was a possibility that this could happen. So he's been putting in the work, the long hours, the dreadful nights, to be in a position to make sure that you guys will be okay no matter what this company says. So I was really excited to be able to tell them that, and that was a very instrumental moment in my life.
I'm sure that they will absorb your leadership as a father to, say to themselves, like, look, if my dad went through something like this, and they're young now, but when they get older, you set a precedent for them to say, well, my dad went through something like this before, and I know how to do this because I can go ask him how he got through it, and I can get some more tips and some advice on how to do that. And I think that's important because I think we've all experienced having parents not necessarily our parents, but parents of this day, to have children to be like, no, you need to keep a secure job at all times. You need to always have a
Mhm.
job. You don't need to do anything risky. Just go to your job. Work for several years, get retirement, and get paid in that capacity because there's that fear of taking those
Right.
leaps of faith. And I think what you have just said is that you were telling your kids it's okay to do that, but also have a contingency plan to
That's right.
have something in the background so that if something comes up, you know how to handle it and you'll be good. And you can still kind of monitor and move how you want to.
Exactly. And it's such a cliche to hear that, parents are still telling their kids to, go to school, go to work, I don't tell my kids that. I say, hey, it's fine if you want to work for someone else, but that's not the end all be all. You know, the end game is to have your own your own. That's always the end game because if you own your own, no one can ever take it from you,
Mm-hmm.
right? You'll always have something coming in, get to the point where you can start making money in your sleep. When you do that, then you're okay, you
Yeah.
know. So, that's kind of what I teach them. I don't teach them, go to school so you go work for somebody else. I don't teach them that. And I say, hey, have options. Always have options.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always been my takeaway for them.
Oh yeah, and I think that's a great thing to share with them. If you can think back, I mean, like I said, I've known you since the second grade, but think back to even before us meeting, or maybe not, maybe around that time. Did you ever envision yourself being where you are right now?
Yes, absolutely. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My sister, she was a cosmetologist. She owned her own hair salon. My grandmother also owned her own hair salon. I had an uncle that owns a construction, well, an uncle that owns a construction company. And I also have an uncle that is in commercial real estate. So being an entrepreneur is in my blood. I was born and bred that way. Had no clue what I wanted to do, but
Mm.
I knew at a very early age that I wanted to own my own. I wanted to be my own source of income. So I knew that at a very early age.
And not to mention that you also had some type of like an email address that was like a corporation
Yes,
or something. What
so
was it? What was
that
it that you?
that AOL email address, I think I came out with that when AOL first came out back in the early 90s.
Yeah, like 95, I
So
think, around 95.
as a so in 95, my email address, believe it or not, was Flemming Inc. at AOL.com. Right? What kid is thinking about a corporation
What
at
kid is
that
doing that,
age?
Johnny?
Right. What kid is doing that? It was me. I was
That
the
was you.
kid.
Yeah, that was good. You were speaking it into existence. That's what we would
Speaking
say
into
now.
existence. Yeah, my AOL account was Fleming Inc. at AOL.com.
That's
That's
great.
hilarious. I'm surprised you remember that.
Well, I'm a drawer of knowledge up here, man. I got a lot of. Well, I probably should say a treasure chest of knowledge, of things that I remember. And I'm not going to ask
That is
everything because
awesome.
it's a TV show. We're going to be,
That's right.
yeah, we're going to keep it that. But you have shared a lot about, you know, the art of pivoting. You've given a lot of tricks and trades and advice in doing it. You haven't really specified it, so to speak, but that's what I have heard. That's what I've gotten from you sharing that with us. But if you could think of some things, well, no, let me ask this first. Um, what were some of the advantages? What are some of the advantages that you have experienced since you have been pivoting and doing what you've been doing to be where you are?
Having people in your corner,
Mm.
uh, a good circle, a good village.
Hmm.
Like I said, I was born and bred into entrepreneurship. Being able to bounce ideas off of people that are in the business and have been in the business for a very long time. Um, and just learning, you
Hmm.
know, just continuing to learn and continuing to grow. I think has been some of the biggest advantages that I've had in this journey so far. But most definitely, the circle you keep, man, is like the most important thing. I can honestly say that all of my friends are very successful. It's so awesome to be able to talk to them in ways that I don't think you can really just talk to any, I won't say regular person, but someone who doesn't is not on the same journey as you
Right,
are.
right.
So just having a really good circle, a really good village around you, has definitely been a huge advantage for me.
Absolutely. And our good buddy DJ Vision kind of spoke to that a few weeks ago about the importance of the circle. So, like I told him, I definitely am anticipating having our circle on this platform sometime soon. I think it'd be great just to kind of talk about that a little bit more, but just kind of wanted to throw that out there again because I am going to make that happen.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
that's
think
a whole
that
nother
that's
conversation
a
in itself.
whole different conversation altogether.
Mhm.
Um, if you were to advise somebody on how to pivot the most, well, success is measured on tons of different things, but if you were to guide someone to pivot into doing something different and to kind of monitor or emulate, I want to say emulate the way that you did it, what are some things that you would share with them?
Bet on yourself.
Mm,
Bet on yourself. Do the research. Um, I've never been one of those people that always kind of just listen to people. I'll listen to them, but I'm also going to investigate as well. I'm going to do the research.
mhm,
Sometimes people can give you bad information. Um, Always be willing to go the extra mile to do the research.
mhm.
Um, and just make sure that, you know, whatever you do is your passion. You know,
Mm,
make sure that it's not something that you're looking to get paid on overnight, 'cause it's not going to happen. It's not gonna,
mhm,
and if it does, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
mhm.
Anything that comes easy is really not worth having. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard that quote before. Um, but yeah, just bet on yourself, do the research, make sure it's your passion.
And you're doing something that you're very passionate about right now. Do you think in the next 5 years there's going to be something else that you find yourself very passionate into? Or do you think this is a good place for you to be? And as you said, with the former job that you just got let go of, I mean, it's really opened up doors for you to really do even more at this point. So how does that look for
Right.
you?
So, interestingly enough, I feel like I'm always evolving.
Hmm.
I never stop learning. I'm always learning new things. Um, as of probably 2 days ago, I just took a deep dive into day trading. My investment portfolio is pretty extensive, but I there are parts of investing that I don't know about and I want to learn about. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Um, Funny story, and this is probably the first time I've said it out loud. I'm interested in getting my single engine pilot's
Oh,
license.
wow.
You
I don't
know,
think I've
yeah.
ever heard that from you before in my life, Johnny.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually been thinking about it for quite some time. I don't think I've shared that with anyone, but I have a couple of family members that actually have their pilot's license, and that's something that I have taken an interest to. So this new chapter of my life, who knows what it's going to bring. As it currently stands, I'm officially retired. But I have a lot of options on the table, and it's just a matter of me sitting down and figure out, which route I want to take. And I feel like, God willing, I feel like I have a lot of time left. So, I'm going to explore some of those options, and we'll just figure this thing out.
Well, again, like I said, I couldn't think of anybody better to talk about the art of pivoting. And you just again showed that very example. So thank you for sharing your love and fascination of piloting. All of a sudden, I think
I know,
that's
right?
going to be great. But I mean, hey, listen, you've done it, time after time, and you just always, come out on top on everything that you've wanted to pursue. So thank you again for sharing that. So Johnny, what is one word that affirms you?
Um, Change agent for
Mm,
sure. Um, Whenever I talk to someone in an intimate setting, and when I say intimate setting, I'm meaning like no cameras or just me and you having a genuine conversation. I'm always trying to inspire someone to do something different. I'm always sharing my story to let people know that they can do it. If I can do it, I feel like if I can do it, anybody can do it. The art of pivoting is necessary. You know, so just I would definitely say change agent, just trying to be an inspiration to others, helping people accomplish things that they didn't realize they could even accomplish. That's always been my goal. I have several friends that have talked to me, several, coworkers like, hey man, I appreciate that conversation. It's changed my whole perspective on certain things. And if I can just be able to do that, God willing, that makes me happy. So change agent for sure.
I think that is very, very fitting to consider yourself in that regard. Brother Johnny Fleming, thank you so very much for sharing your journey and sharing the importance of learning the art of pivoting. Because, as I've said, I've noticed this for quite some time in your life and just the different entities and different areas that you've been in. You've been able to do it and come out on top each and every time. And as I said to Joseph, as I said to DJ Vision, I've known you for quite some time. I don't know if I've said it in person, but I'm saying it now for everyone to hear. I am extremely proud of you, and I know that the best is yet to come for you. And I'm very, very honored to have you in my circle. So thank you so very much for sharing all of your experience with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
And I appreciate you, Dr. Green, for having me on your show and allowing me to share my story with everyone. So I really do appreciate that.
No problem at all. So, if individuals want to get in contact with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and just be connected with you?
Sure. Do not use my AOL address.
Don't use that because
um,
I don't.
yeah, so it's Dream Imagined LLC at gmail.com. So if you want to get in contact with me, that is the best way to do it. That's my business address.
Awesome. And one last thing before we leave for tonight, what is one thing that you are grateful for today?
I am grateful for health.
Mm.
Health. Not, we're at a time where not all of our counterparts and peers are able to wake up and breathe a breath of fresh air. So just having health, and what they say, health is wealth. So uh, I would definitely say health.
Absolutely. I think if I were to think of something today, I would say I'm grateful for improvement. I think every
Mm.
day we aim for improvement, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Just depending on the day. But I think today has been a day of improvement for me, so I'm really grateful for that. Really grateful.
Yeah. And if I were to leave one last message, I would like to tell our viewers to find your inspiration.
Mm.
Find your inspiration. I think that would probably be, the most important thing that they'll ever do for themselves in their lives.
I mean, and again, you said it earlier, and I think I heard this before in another conversation. But when you bet on yourself, I mean, there is just
Mhm.
so many possibilities that will open up to you in addition to finding your inspiration, finding your purpose. It's all so very, very important. But the beauty of it is that even when you're still trying to figure that out, you can always pivot, which is so important that you are able to share that. You can pivot
Absolutely.
to something else and still, come out on top. So I just again thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your story. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying and listening to this great conversation. And I hope that you were able to get something from the art of pivoting. Please join us next week as we tackle another amazing conversation and another topic. Have a great rest of the evening. Have a great week.